This is part two of July the 25th, 2026, Islam Sheikh the Wing Baphomet. So I was saying those that have done research about gang activity, what I remember is they connected the dots to usually wherever country they coming from, where the gang activity is going on. The government and I'm messing with my hair. The government with excuse me, the government in which where the country is usually involved. It's just like here with the gang activity. Excuse me, with the gang activity that was being documented and researched here, uh, in reference to the unnaturalized United States government being involved with the different gangs that were here. Um, and and the reason why the governments were involved with the gang, whether it was this is the research that more too many have connected the dots with, is because of some form of drug um, activity, um, whether selling drugs, money laundering, something in reference to that. So the gangs were literally working for um, the government, and they were very violent, or they were used as assassins, um, where you would not know why why a shooting happened in an area, and but it was or why this gang member or what they would camouflage what person they really used to commit the heinous crime. But definitely, those that have researched gang activities connected the dots to the governments, which the country that the gang activity is prevalent in being involved and deliberately being involved in creating gangs and creating animals in that manner, or heinous, malicious, vicious groups of people to commit different forms of crimes, such as the gangs here that were Spanish speaking and black and pale skin, like Moors have demonstrated um, in the past how when the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, came about in their documentation of the United States government creating the Ku Klux Klan, creating them around, I think it was either 1868 or between 1865 and 1868, and they did it for reasons of chaos and distraction, and and in that time reminding everyone that Abraham Lincoln's proclamations were supposed to be implemented during that time. That includes the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. So he had already begun making sure people were being naturalized under the oath of amnesty and reconstruction. And he also stated that some military um, people from the Navy and Army who were in a treason state were not able to ever be naturalized. They are considered criminals. So after these proclamations had been passed, and what allowed President Abraham Lincoln to pass these proclamations was Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S.A. Organic Constitution. They were supposed to have been implemented um, from the compensated emancipation, the initial emancipation, the supplemental emancipation, and the oath of amnesty and reconstruction. emancipation. And so in the oath of Reconstruction, that's where um, citizens excuse me, prisoners of war, um, those that were considered to be slaves, those that were involved in the rebellion against the Constitution, everyone's supposed to have taken an oath or affirm. That's why they have in documentation Robert E. Lee in the files or the courts in Virginia of him. He was, I think the word colonel. He signed and um, he took an oath to uphold the U.S.A. Constitution. In fact, there have I remember when I was researching and reading more about Abraham Lincoln, he said if he could, he would rather uh, in other words, it was about upholding constitutional laws on this landmass. And these is in, and I'm putting what he was demonstrating in his quotes in my words, any means necessary. It was all about the implementation and upholding constitutional laws, the true constitution, the organic constitution on this landmass. So the sequence of events of the Ku Klux Klansmen being created was right in between that time when the Civil War had supposedly ended, and the Klansman was created as a distraction to cause racial conflict and keep the the um, a distraction. Killing blacks and so forth is violent. Keep the what's I want to say. I'm just gonna keep it as a distraction. So we already know what the Klansmen did when they were gathering and hanging Moors and so forth. So but the what is probably kept out of history is the blacks that too were involved in doing such things to those that were um, Moors in demonstrating some form of constitutional freedom. It's the same as when Martin Luther King because this is all connection to gangs, violent gangs being created in the United States that's unnaturalized, the federal government that's unnaturalized, um, and the research that others have done in reference to and connecting the video what I saw today about El Salvador, um, and not accusing that president, but this is the research that many have done in reference to gangs. So it's just is so in another part of history is when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Um, there was all this chaos, burning of buildings and harm among the black community. And people were like, "What is going on?" In afterwards, I remember growing up and hearing people or conscious black when I was really trying to see who I was, my true self. I was trying to, so I definitely learned some information about the Black Panther movement, the conscious blacks, listening to them. But one of the things that they would say is, you notice how the blacks did not, when they were burning down black-owned businesses, houses, uh, burning down communities and neighborhoods, that those that were doing it, they didn't. the white neighborhood, or and comedians make jokes about this too. The white neighborhoods were right there, right next to the black, right there. All they had to do is go further down to Beverly Hills or somewhere else. But they didn't go there. They burnt down the neighborhoods, the black neighborhoods. So the black men who they looked up to so much, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And in anger, you see on the news, black people running around like animals, burning down black owned businesses, burning down black neighborhoods, causing harm, probably different forms of violence, rape, or whatever in black neighborhoods all over the country when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. But they didn't go to the white neighborhoods. And at that time, it was definitely implied and said that a white man killed him. So the connection with that is later is knowing that the United States government used different plots of black people, which probably is the same black Negro that I have been speaking about here in Annapolis, in this United States military city, where the Navy, Army, and the United States government, federal government are prevalent, were use these people to do such things. That's a game. They got a signal. That is a game. It's the same with Hurricane Katrina. So Hurricane Katrina, the people were in the Superdome. I've said this so many times. After thousands of people were drowned, eaten by alligators and other forms of death because of the hurricane, and seeing their loved ones be eaten by alligators, drowned, and so forth, they finally found a place in a supernova that was full of so much filth and feces. And then while they were in there, the black people or those that were there started to rape and murder the people inside with the military right outside. So the guy gave testimony. He said at night, some of the documentation, it looked like you see the military outside um, walking around as though they're, keeping everything calm until FEMA gets there and so forth during the day. But at night, during the day, they were doing this. But at night, people were getting raped and murdered inside the Superdome. How can that thought process even be there during a time like that? Those were game plots. They were plotted signal animals. So this is what Imani and I are experiencing here in Annapolis. Not saying everyone from El Salvador is that way, no. Or from Mexico, South Central America, pale skin, or the black Negro. I'm telling you, but they're here. This is why they say werewolf and trying to do some form of initiation, witches and stuff like that. Because it's a process, it's a different process of gang activity where they're not, because if they have the code, they use a mental process to engage and force engage and to lower the frequency. So then if they can lower the frequency enough in the area dealing with sacrificing of harm, which causing harm to me and Imani, people watching, just imagine that. Because I'm just getting back to imagining all of them having the code, and me and Imani don't have the telepathic code. So they observing and watching the harm being done to naturalized Moors who affirmed to uphold the U.S.A. Constitution of 1787, which includes the 13th Amendment with 20 sections and all four Abraham Lincoln's proclamations. They lowering the frequency. And so I gave testimony about hearing it sound like it looked like a visual and sound like definitely this lady starts saying that she want to kill and me she's going to kill me, or she's going to kill, we can kill your son. And she looked like she was from or it sounded like she was from El Salvador. When I say it was a visual like right here, um and from, and this is not spiritual, this is technology, science of force engagement. But the but them being able to speak in this apartment is also, it's not spiritual. I mean, it is spiritual, it's all spiritual, always spiritual. But I'm saying is it can be proven on the physical plane. When when those that are scientists are able to demonstrate, those that are able to um, uh, AI that's able to see and re what's the word, um, demonstrate a visual in a mind of a human and put it on a screen, then when they start doing that more often and demonstrating what AI can do and the other, then you will see. This is why I'm not worried about them, because they still saying how they're going to sue in this apartment. We're going to sue. These, and that this is not um hope. I'm not hope, but some excuse me. This is not some type of um um I don't know what's the word right now. I do know the word, I just can't articulate it. It's always spiritual, but I'm saying is this is real life on the physical plane. So they're using a science or technology to project their voice inside the apartment, and when they thought it was, the frequency was low, they started to threaten to kill me and Imani, especially, or say warning. If I feel I experience a force sharp pain, like I'm these past few days, I've been experiencing pain in my groin, and blood was coming from my vagina. Then I hear a black Negro male say warning. So these are acts of terrorism by the same form of gangs, the same form of gangs that that El Salvador is demonstrating the president have locked up. So super so what I'm so okay, so um and the visual, and when I say imagine, before I was saying that in reference to that imagine, but now I'm telling you what I truly experienced in here inside this apartment, because I know it can be proven. Just like in time, it's going to be proven about how many have the telepathic code and all that they have done criminally with the code here in Annapolis. And without saying, and definitely not saying all, but it definitely exists in reference. And so they still threaten to sue. Hearing them, so imagine them using the code to watch my finances, and meaning money finances, because they're waiting to see, and while they're doing it, manipulating, force engaging the mind and so forth, because they're trying to get a lawsuit together for when we might have finances well enough where they can take that, because the goal was to sex and human traffic us, because they keep saying they paid the nation of Moors. that which is from El Salvador, South Central America, the black Negro, pale skin, and they could be from India, other forms, not all of them, but other forms of criminals, terrorists that Annapolis is harboring here, Islam.